Comrades, I've got a local trade unionist who's going to speak. You'll never guess from his accent, but we're all Londoners now. The next speaker is Debus, the President of Hackney Trades Council. Brian, do you want to come up on a step? Brothers and sisters, comrades, if this goes down, as it possibly might do, it will be probably the most historic sellout day for over 50 or 60 years by the trade union leaders if they're able to get away with it. They don't seem able to recognise daylight from night time. Hundreds of thousands of workers were on demonstrations, picket lines and rallies but 2 weeks ago. Do they not realise that all those members who took action on the 30th of November are now more and more willing to take action in the future to defend their pensions and to fight for their class? We have to ask ourselves the question, why is it these trade union leaders can even consider signing up to this rotten deal? It demonstrates to me that they have no inkling of what it's like for working people on the ground floor. My General Secretary, Prentis, Dave, if you're listening, I'm broadcasting it, is on over 100 grand a year and definitely is on a gold-plated pension. We would say, if you were on the same living standards, the same working conditions, the same future as your members, you wouldn't even give this deal a moment's thought. We would say to you now, even at this last moment, don't sign up, don't do the Tories' dirty work, start to fight for your class, and if you're not prepared to fight for your class, stand aside and we will. Thank you. We've got a comment here from Liverpool Trades Council. Martin Ruff is going to, Assistant President, Vice President, sorry, of Liverpool Trades Council.
Well, brothers and sisters, I'm glad we came down over the weekend and that we were able to stay for another day so that we could participate in your lobby down here. Well, not just your lobby, but our lobby as well, and every workers' lobby. We've been taking conductors around Liverpool and London, and they were a witness to our meeting last Thursday, where they spoke about their international movement of the unions and so on. But after that, we took up a branch motion from the one of the Unite branches in Liverpool. We had a meeting of 35 delegates there, and that called on us to support the movement for a one-day strike in January. And it didn't take much discussion because we went to the vote very quickly, and it was a unanimous vote that all those union delegates from Unite, the UCU, NUT and so on voted unanimously to continue that fight for the strike in January. So that's one thing I wanted to report to you. But in terms of the feeling that we had, I'm on the committee of the UCU at the Liverpool University, and we had a branch meeting before the 30th of November. And we were advised or pushed or cajoled to say, to present the ideas to the membership, let's have like a 2-hour rolling strike. Well, the president of our union only got to the second slide before the meeting stopped him. And he was in sympathy with the meeting, by the way. But we said, that's not good enough and we don't want it. So what that union branch voted for was exactly what is being taught today on the steps of this Congress House. And further than that, on that day, we not only mobilised the membership, but we mobilised a lot of the students and a lot of the communities, and we had mass pickets in the city of Liverpool. And after that, we organised a demonstration of about 20 to 25,000 people. So you can see, we've actually got a great national movement that's going. But I think that if you watch the BBC, as I did about an hour ago, it's saying the health workers have already done a deal. Unison have already done a deal. And maybe the BBC are lying. And if they are, we'll take the book for that. But if they're not, what I think we should say is that in every union organised emergency union meetings. Demand that our leaders fight. And I echo everything that's been said about if they're not going to fight, get out of the way. But they won't get out of the way, so we're going to have to push them out of the way. So I say, in January, as soon as we can, organise these union branch meetings in every union. Let's link together and let's say, we're not having this, we're going to continue this fight, and we're going to continue it until we win. Thank you very much.
Dave is going to speak from PCS HMRC. Thank you very much, Dave.
Go on, Dave.
Our General Secretary's been called militant. It was called militant by Gove a couple of weeks ago. And I think he took that as a badge of pride, actually. And I think that's something he should be proud of. If there are unions in there today which cave in, or if there are union leaders in there today which cave in, they're going to weaken the fight for all of us. I know it's getting to be a bit of a cliche, but we are all in this together. All of us down the bottom are in this together. We've seen public sector workers take action on November 30th and June 30th. We've seen private sector workers take action a couple of weeks ago. Because Unilever, who made £5.5 billion profit last year, and whose profits went up by 16 to 25%, depending who you believe. Either way, they're not doing badly. They say they can't afford their own employees' pension schemes. That's piffle. Of course they can afford the pension schemes. Stop giving the money to the shareholders. Stop giving the money to directors. Give it to the people that are doing the bloody work. I don't think that's too much to ask for, frankly. It doesn't take genius to work out. If you make people skint, they spend less in shops. If you take 60, 70, 80 quid a month from public sector workers' pay to go to pay off the deficit, not to pay towards our pensions, to go towards to pay off the deficit, if we take that money from their pockets, they're not spending that in shops. And then small businesses close, more people get on the dole, and you wonder why the economy isn't growing. It's because you're throttling it by attacking us. We end up skint, jobs get lost in the private sector, the private sector loses jobs. It's just a cycle of absolute economic self-destruction. We have to be strong, our union leaders have to be strong, and if the union leaders aren't strong, sort them out, do something about them. You know, elections might not always be quite as democratic as they could be. There's a lot of positioning, there's a lot of bargaining. But if your union leader's going to let you down today, you let them down when they opt for election next time. Solidarity to every bloody body, because we are all in this together. We've got to stand together, we've got to fight together. If we're not strong, we're going to be stamped on. And I ain't willing to be stamped on.
The next speaker, again from PCS, Hector Wesley for the National Executive Committee.
Thank you, comrades. Thanks for coming out this afternoon. I'm very glad to be speaking here before you, but I'm a little bit surprised that I've been asked to speak before you, because my union's got a bit of a reputation at the moment, hasn't it? You know, we're the ones that bullied our members into taking strike action. Mark Swatcombe's the most militant trade union in the history of the trade union movement, it seems. But the reality is, comrades, is that my union is a democratic union. Our members took us into this dispute, and our members will take us out of it. Because we're quite clear. As an EC member, I don't get to decide what happens to our members' terms and conditions. I don't play politics on members' terms and conditions or their jobs. That is why we're having this fight. Because our members say we need to have this fight. Because we came into this service basically on the backs of struggles that our forefathers, our fellow comrades in the past have fought for. And it's not for us to sell out those rights. It's not for us to sell out those rights. That is why we're fighting, and we've got to continue to fight. And the leaders that are in there about to sell out, I spoke one question to them. What were they saying when they going to picket lines and demonstrations and rallies on November the 30th? I'll give you one example. Brendan Barber, he went to Birmingham and he said, we will continue to fight till we get pensions justice. So if they sell out this afternoon, they're going to come back to those same members and say, did we get pensions justice this afternoon? That's what That's the reality of the situation. I know my leadership, my fellow leaders in the NEC, across the board, we've got a clear conscience. Because we didn't say one thing out there, you know, in the public to get applauded and do something different in closed doors. Right? We do the same thing out in public as we do in private. So we're quite clear. We will not settle this dispute in PCS until our members say we're going to settle this dispute. That's the position of that, that's the position we're taking, and I will challenge every other leadership in the TUC to give that same commitment, because that's important. Because I believe that, yes, I'm a union member in NEC, but I'm accountable. I'm accountable to the membership. So I will say to all the union leaders, trust your membership. Do not sell out. Thank you very much, comrades.
Following on from the point Hector made, there is absolutely no justification for signing the heads of agreement. All this heads of agreement does, it doesn't formally settle the dispute. It just sends a message to the government that we're going to cave in. It just sends a message to our members that the unions are not serious about fighting. It gives every advantage to the government and nothing to the members of the trade union. And exactly what Hector said there. If these leaders are confident that this agreement is acceptable, why don't they call emergency national executive committees? Why don't they call emergency national conferences? Why don't they let the members of their own unions decide if this agreement is acceptable, and not an handful of general secretaries calling off the biggest strike in this movement for 85 years? Comrades, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Zita Holbourne, National Executive Committee member of PCS. Zita.
Afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing? It's great that there's everybody here. What's happening to us is a disgrace. What the government are doing to poorest and most vulnerable workers is an absolute disgrace. What they're doing is driving us into deeper poverty, deeper deprivation. Many of our members have to actually claim the same benefits that they administer, having gone through a 2-year pay freeze, and now we're facing as public sector workers a 1% pay cap, which in real terms, all of it is a cut in our pay, because the cost of living is rising immensely every day. And to have this attack on our pensions, and for the government to refuse to have meaningful negotiations and sit down properly and start from scratch and negotiate properly around the issues that we're facing is unacceptable. I'm proud of my union's leadership, the PCS union leadership, and to be part of that, and of Mark Sawatka, who will be fighting in there and standing up and defending members' rights, which is what we need every single trade union to do. We showed the strength of our power when we stand united and we stand collectively on the 30th of November when 29 unions were out on strike, and we need to continue to do that. We shouldn't be separating and breaking away and giving in to this government. We need to stand collectively together. We are the majority, we are the 99%. We're stronger as a majority. We have the power to stand up against this government. We just need to assert that power. So I hope all of those that are in that meeting today are thinking of their members, on the ground. Well, Dave Prentis, I hope you actually listen to your members and think about what your members are facing right now. Your members are low-paid workers who struggle to make ends meet, who you need to listen to, who you need to stand up for and support. Your elected as a leadership of the union to work on behalf of your members, not to work on behalf of yourself. You should be looking at what